Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all?
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good
How are you,
afternoon.
sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you. So nice to meet you again. So this is our third session. We are discussing regarding the basic accounting issues. We are trying to clear our concept regarding accounting, how it works, and the previous. What was the last discussions we have made, or last topics we have discussed? Can you
It was
help?
about assets and liabilities.
Yes, I said library. So what were the discussions? Yeah, accounting
We
equation, right?
also made discussions about what is transaction and what is
Hmm.
not transaction.
Excellent. So can you please help us to remind that discussion? How can we identify a transaction?
Uh, when a transaction has a monetary value, it is a transaction when it has monetary value,
Hmm.
and you can record it. But if it does not have any monetary value or you cannot record it, then it is not.
So the monetary value is one of the criteria. There is another criteria to be fulfilled.
Sir, and it is must be affect
Exactly. It affect to the
sir,
balance sheet.
related with the business.
Definitely related with the business. How can you identify it? If it is affect the accounting equation, if it's affect the balance sheet, if it affects the financial condition of the organization, then we can consider it as a transaction. If you can remember, in our last sessions we have concentrated on that, and we mentioned that assets will a transaction, if any activity becomes a transaction, that must fulfill these two criteria. First one, as you already mentioned, that it should be a monetary activities. Second one, as you have mentioned, it must affect the financial condition or accounting equation or the balance sheet or the relationship of asset liability and owner's security. Then it will be considered as a transaction, otherwise not. After identifying this criteria, then we focused on how can we analyze a transaction. Basically, it's an identification part. How can we identify a transaction? In the last sessions, we have done this part. Some activities are given. You try to identify whether it's a transaction or not. Then you try to identify what are the activities are related with the transactions, then what types of account are these and how they are changing. As we already mentioned, that if it is a transaction, it will change the financial activities of an organization, how it is going to change the financial condition of the organization. Up to that we have made our discussion. In this session again we are going to proceed our discussion from this identification part. So for that one, we are going to solve a problem from your book, that is P11A from your book. You can see that in this problem, a couple of activities are being given here. They mentioned that on April 1, Julie Spengel established Spengel's travel agency. That means this travel agency have started on April 1, and the following transactions are completed during the month. On April 1, these transactions are completed. You have been asked to show the tabular analysis following some account title, and some other things have been asked as well. But we'll proceed on that discussion later on. But as we know, that we definitely have to identify whether these activities are transactions or not. Now we are going to concentrate on that. That we'll try to find out whether these activities are transactions or not. And based on the previous discussions we have made, now I want to ask you or to find out whether these activities are transactions or not. If it is a transaction, what are the accounts are related with that, and what are the activities and accounts are related with that, and how they are changing over the time. Okay, can you do it yourself? Then we'll go for a cross check and we'll proceed to the next step. Is that okay?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Now there are 10 transactions are here. I'm going to give you 10 minutes for that. by this 10 minutes, try yourself. You might be wrong, it might be correct. Doesn't matter to us. We'll try to assess ourselves. So try yourself following the formats we have followed in our last session. That is, either it's a transaction or not. If it is a transaction, what are the activities are related with that? Then we'll try to find out what types of accounts are these and whether they are increasing and decreasing. Okay. Now it's to you find out the assessment or do the assessment of these transactions or of these activities.
Will we write this in our copy, sir?
It's totally upon to you. It's better to write down in a copy, but it's for you only. You don't have to submit it. Just to uh, cross check it with my or with our discussions.
Sir, can you please accept Rakesh so far? Yes, send a request for the entered the class.
I haven't found any more. Oh, here it is. Rakesh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
So should I put it in the chat box?
The solution one?
Yeah.
No worries. No worries. I'm going to explain it, then cross check it later. Okay? Should I go for the cross check, or is there anyone need more time? Do you need more time, sir? Hello. How many of you have done it? What happened? Sorry.
কোনো কোর্সে ফ্রিতে
Hello, sir. Sorry,
Sorry,
sir.
back.
Yeah, sorry, sir. I was disconnected. Okay. All right. Let me share the screen. So, have you done it?
yes sir.
Okay. Let me cross check with you all. So, these are the transactions, and now we are going to assess those transactions. So, the first one, invested 15,000 cash to start the agency. What do you think? Is it a transaction?
Yes sir.
Yes.
Yes. So now we need to find out what are the activities are related with that. What are the activities are
Capital.
related?
Cash
Okay,
and capital sir.
cash and capital. After that, we need to find out what types of account are these.
Assets and ownership equity.
Assets, cash is an assets, and this one is owner security. And then how these activities are going to change? Both are increasing. If anyone have any query or any confusion, please let us know. Excellent. So by these activities, we now can see it's a transaction. Two activities are related with their cash and capital, and cash is an asset, capital is an owner security, and both are increasing by this transaction. Second one, paid 600 cash for office rent, April's office rent. Is it a transaction?
Yes sir.
It is a transaction. So if it is a transaction, then what are the accounts will be affected, or what are the activities are related with that?
So cash and rent.
Cash and rent. What types of accounts are these?
Assets and expenses.
Assets, expenses. How they are changing? Cash decrease and expense increase. Excellent. Next one, purchased office equipment for 3,000 cash.
Yes.
Yes,
Cash and equipment.
Cash.
cash and equipment. Excellent. So cash is an asset, as we know,
Equipment as well.
equipment as well. Changing.
Cash will decrease and equipment increase.
Excellent. Cash will decrease and equipment increase. Nice. Number four, incurred 700 of advertising cost in the Chicago Tribune on account. On account means
Accounts payable.
accounts payable. They haven't paid it, but they are supposed to pay it. Do you consider it as a transaction?
Yes.
Do you want to consider it as a transaction? Is it a
I think it's a transaction sir, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
yes, definitely. Because even
Incur
though
means
even though if you haven't paid it, but you have to pay it, and you already
is it a
consume.
current asset?
Sorry, sir.
Is it a current asset?
No, no, it's not a current asset. We'll explain it later on. But even though you haven't paid it, but we already consume the benefits of the advertisement. That's why you are supposed to pay, or you are liable to pay it in future. So what are the accounts are affecting, or what are the activities have been
Okay, okay.
affected?
Current liability, right?
Yep, yep. What are the accounts are affected by that?
Accounts payable, and
Accounts,
I written advertising.
and you have written definitely these two accounts are here. So accounts payable is a
The liability, sir.
liability, liability, and advertising.
Asset, sir.
No,
It's an expense.
sorry, sir. It's an
Expense.
expense because you already consume the benefit. Whenever advertising activities incurred, and it's been considered that you are continuously having the benefits for them for the advertisement. That's why it's considered as an expense. And the changes
Accounts payable increases and
increases,
advertising also increases.
these two increases, both of them are increases. Yes, because there was no liability before that activity, so liability increased, and there was nothing happened regarding the advertisement before that, so your advertising expense also increased.
So incurred means payment is due.
Payment, no, it means it's happened. After happening this one, you may paid it, may not paid it. If you pay it, cash is gone. If you haven't paid it, then it's considered as a due. Okay. Next one, paid 900 cash for office supplies. Definitely, it's a transaction. Yes, sir. Then
Supplies.
supplies,
Both are assets.
and another one,
Both
supplies.
are assets.
One is supplies
Cash
account,
and
cash and
supplies.
supplies. Yes, both are asset. Changes,
Supplies will increase and cash will decrease.
supplies increase.
Increase in cash.
Yeah, yeah, cash decrease. Number six, perform services owed 10,000 and 3,000 receipts in from the customers in cash, and remaining amount has not received yet, but that's why they have billed it and they are supposed to receive in future. That's why on account. So are you going to consider it
It
as
is
a
a transaction.
transaction? It is a transaction.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what are the activities are related to that?
Current asset.
We have to
Trade
specify
receivables.
Trade
Service
receivable.
revenue.
Trade receivable.
service revenue. Yeah.
And
Accounts
accounts
receivable.
receivable.
Instead of trade receivable, it's better to mention accounts receivable. Accounts. Is that all?
I think the cash account
Cash account as well. Yes, excellent. Thank you. So we now can see that by that activities, by that transaction, three activities are related to that. So before that, whenever any activities incurred, there was only two activities are related with that transactions. If you can remember, in our last session, we mentioned that when any transactions incurred, at least two accounts will be affected. More than two accounts can be affected as well. From these examples, we can now can see by these transactions, three accounts have been affected by that. One of your friends have raised this point out these issues, that whether two accounts will be affected by each transactions or not in our last session basically, and we have mentioned that at least two accounts will be affected by each transaction. It can be more than that as well. So from that transactions, we now can see that three activities are related with that, and now we are going to categorize it. What types of account are this? Service revenue is
Revenue.
revenue. Accounts receivable,
It's an asset.
it's an asset. Cash is also an
Also an asset.
asset. So revenue
Everything increases, sir.
increases, accounts receivable also increases. Excellent. So all of these three accounts are increasing by that transaction. Probably one of your friends have no. Yes, please. You don't have to raise your hand. You just feel free to ask me anytime.
Sir, I'm confused about transaction 4. I think the cash account should be there, sir.
No, they mentioned that incurred 700 advertising in the Chicago Tribune on account. What does the on account means?
Account.
Accounts
Accounts
payable.
payable. It means that they haven't paid it yet. They received the services of advertisement. They are supposed to pay $700, but they have not paid yet. So if they don't pay, do you think that cash account will be affected? No. And they are going to pay it in future. That's why we have considered the accounts payable account here, because it's a liability. They are liable to pay that $700 in future. Is it okay?
Sir,
Y- Yes, sir.
the service revenue means the revenue which we get by providing services or goods.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. 10,000. Can you please help me? What should be the accounts or activities? Yep. Uh, Cash, you have received cash of 3,000. Accounts receivable is how much? 7,000. Why have you received cash? Why have you received cash? Because you have earned revenue. Okay. So, for example, they mentioned that they have performed services of 3,000 and they received cash of 3,000. In that case, this is not here. In that case, what are the accounts will be affected? There. Okay, yeah, that's why cash 3,000. What would be the other account? There should be at least two account. Sorry, sir. Okay, help. Yeah, they help us to understand as well. So one is cash account. There will be another will be a service revenue. Okay, for this one it's gone. Say next one, if they mention that they have performed a service of 7,000, and say for example they haven't received any cash, and this 7,000 is on account. Sorry. In that case, 7,000. Okay, it will be 7,000 service revenue, and you haven't have you received cash? No. Perform service of 3,000, for example they mentioned perform service of 3,000, and full 7,000 will be on account. In that case, one is service revenue, another one is accounts receivable. Okay, now merge these two. We have provided a services of in total 10,000. In total of 10,000, 3,000 received cash and 7,000 is due. So first one for 3,000 cash account and service revenue 3,000. Another one is for providing service of 7,000 on account, accounts receivable 7,000, and again service revenue will be added by 7,000. So in total 10,000. So you have provided service of 10,000. Out of 10,000, 3,000 received cash, 7,000 is on account. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks for raising this question. Is there any more query regarding any of the issues that we have discussed? Okay. Now, number 7, withdraw 600 cash for personal use. Is it a transaction?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What are the accounts or activities?
So it's
Owner drawing and cash.
Drawings,
Drawings.
drawings and cash.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
drawings will be accounts, right? Or would be an activities.
Drawings will be an activities. Drawings is a part of
Owner
owner's equity. If you can remember our last discussion, we have mentioned here, we have elaborated the owner's equity part. Can you remember this discussion? That capital, revenue, expense drawings is a part of owner's equity. Owner's equity. So, drawings is a part of owner's equity, and cash asset, as we all know. So, by the drawings, owner's equity will increase or decrease?
Um, decreases because
Short
owner's
this relationship, is it? This is the relationship we have discussed. With the capital revenue when increase, owner's equity increase. Capital revenue when decrease, owner's equity decrease. That means there is a direct relationship of capital revenue with the owner's equity. On the other hand, when expense and drawings increases, owner's equity decreases. And when expense and drawings decreases, owner's equity increases. That means there is a reverse relationship between owner's equity and expense and drawings. So in that scenario, drawings is an increasing, that means owner's equity decreasing. With the drawings, if anything withdraw by the owner, owner's claim will be reduced, and cash decrease as well. This is how this transaction will affect the accounting equation.
Sir, can you explain it again? Drawings in decrease.
So for example, the owners have invested $15,000 to start the business, so capital increases. And drawings means if anything draw by the owner from the organization. So now $600 has been taken off by the owner from the organization. What will happen before the withdraw? What was the claim of the owner?
$15,000.
$15,000. Now what is the claim of the owner at this moment?
14,400.
14,400. So by the withdraw, owner's claim reduced or increased?
Reduced.
Reduced. That's why we mentioned that when the drawings increases, owner's equity decreases. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Cool.
Okay.
Now, paid Chicago Tribune 500 for the amount due in transaction 4. Let's see what happened in transaction 4. In transaction 4, they mentioned that incurred 700 of advertising cost in the Chicago Tribune on account. That means they received a service of advertisement of 700, but they did not pay it. That's why we mentioned accounts payable. Now, out of that 700, 500 is going to be paid. Is it a transaction?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What are the accounts related with that?
The cash and accounts payable.
Cash and accounts payable. Cash and accounts payable. So, how should we categorize it? Cash is an asset, accounts payable is a
Liability.
liability. How they are changing?
Cash decrease.
Cash
Cash
decreases,
decrease,
liability
Liability
increases.
increase.
increase,
The
Liability.
accounts payable will also decrease
accounts payable also decrease. Why do you, okay, some of your friends have mentioned that liability increase. Why do you think that liability will be increased?
because as they have paid Chicago Tribune $500, it's going out of their business account to Chicago Tribune.
That's why, okay, then, so,
That's why liability should decrease in length.
yes, liability should decrease as well, not increase. Number 9, paid employee salaries 2500. Definitely, it's a transaction accounts activities,
The salary and cash.
salaries
salaries,
and cash
and
or
cash.
bank.
Cash or bank. So salaries is an
Sir, expense.
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 Cash asset. How they're
You have
changing?
to mention what kind of asset or liability
Later
is.
on, not now, not at this moment, not at this moment. We're still discussing the very basic thing of accounting. So salaries expense is increasing or decreasing? Increase,
Increasing. Cash
increase,
flow decrease.
decrease.
Yes, it decreases.
Yeah, cool. And the last one, receive 4,000 in cash from the customers who have previously been billed in transaction 6. So in transaction 6, what happened? You provided a service of $10,000,
And then
3,000 received cash, 7,000 was due. This 7,000 is supposed to receive in future. Now you are going to receive 4,000 of this 7,000. Definitely it's a transaction. What are the
cash and
activities?
receivable.
Cash and accounts receivable. Cash asset,
Asset.
both are assets. Hence,
Receivers.
cash increase,
And the later one decreases.
decrease. Excellent. That's how we can make our initial scrutiny about any activities that actually incur in an organization. This is basically a part of the transaction identification. We have seen how can we identify a transaction in an organization when incurred. This is the way we need to identify it. Do you have
Sorry. It's repeating.
say initially what happened? Initially you provided services on account of 7,000. That's why accounts receivable increases initially. That means you are supposed to receive this 7,000 sometime in near future. So your asset was 7,000, your receivable amount was 7,000. Now from this 7,000 you have received 4,000. Do you think that is there any change with the receivable amount? Okay, what will be the change? 3,000 will remain by reducing 4,000. We are dealing with the 4,000 here. That's why we mentioned that accounts receivable is reducing by 4,000. They are reducing by this 4,000. Have you got it? Okay, cool. Probably one of your friends wanted to ask any question.
Yes.
Yeah,
So can you please again describe the relation between number 4 and 8?
number 4 and 8. In number 4, what happened? They took a service from the advertisement agency of $700, but at the time they did not pay it. That's why they mention it on account. And when it was incurred, two accounts were affected. One is advertisement expenses, another one accounts payable. That means your liability increases because this $700 will be paid later on. Now, in number 8, what was your liability? $700 to be paid in future.
Yes.
Now, on numbers 8, you are going to pay a part of your liability, not fully, a part of your liability. So when you are paying your liability, how are you paying? You are paying through cash. So your cash will be reduced by 400. Similarly, when you are paying your liability will be reduced, isn't it?
Yes.
Say, for example, you have taken a loan from a bank, for example. How much have you taken? 700 crore, for example. Now, if you pay now by 400 crore for your liability, don't you think that your liability will be reduced?
Right, sir.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Also, the accounts payable in number 8, does that mean 500 or the related what amount?
oh sorry, not the 400, 500. It should 500. We are
So
going to we are going to show
200
how.
million.
Now when we will go for balancing or summarize all of this information, then it will show that it had 200 of liabilities. We'll do it later on, but initially we are thinking from individual activities. You can see it in the next step that we are going to do. Up to that, is there any more query?
No, sir.
Cool. So this is the first part. This is how we will go for the identification of the transactions part. And now you can see in your book what has been asked, that they have mentioned that this organization have started on April 1, and these are the activities incurred in April with this organization. Now they have asked you to prepare a table and analysis. To prepare a table and analysis means show the effect of transaction into the accounting equation. Very simple way. They have asked you to prepare a tabular analysis. To prepare a tabular analysis, this tabular analysis means show the effect of the transaction into the accounting equation. Here, and they also mentioned that what are the accounts title of should be considered when you are dealing with the transactions. Cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, etc., has been given here. Now let's write it down. What are the accounts title or information has been given? These are the accounts. You can see cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment. All of these four are assets. Accounts payable is a liability. Owner's capital, drawings, revenue, expense is a part of owner's equity. Now we are going to show all of these activities into here. So cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, accounts payable, and we'll write down owner's equity. Instead of separate owner's capital, drawings, revenue, and expense, we will write down owner's equity, because we know that capital, revenue, expense, and drawings is a part of the owner's equity. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, these four are basically assets of the organization. This one is liability. Only one liability for this example. There can be couple of liabilities, and this is a part of the owner's equity.
Or supplies as in raw materials.
Not really. Supplies has been basically the different types of stationaries that have in the organization. Some tools can be considered as a part of the supplies as well. Raw materials is a material that will be shown separately. So assets, liabilities, and one thing we should keep in mind: asset must always be equal to liability plus
Plus
owners
owner's equity.
plus owners equity. So, whenever you will be asked for a tabular analysis, you need to show the effect of the activities directly to this accounting equation. And for showing the effect of the activities into the accounting equation, you definitely have to do this assessment. You can, you don't need to show it. You don't need to show this assessment or analysis. You can do it in your mind, or you can go for a rough activities. That's why this is a very basic thing. If you failed to analyze the activities like that way, whatever you are going to do in accounting, everything will be wrong. So be careful that you can assess the accounting activities, initial activities like that way, and you can find out the correct activities and what types of accounts are this and how they are changing. Now, whatever we have done so far, we are going to show it directly into this accounting equation. So here we can write it down. It can be a date or the serial number depending on what they have mentioned. And they said that this is a transaction for April. So April's activities will be recorded here. The they mentioned, first one they mentioned invested 15,000 cash to start the agency. Okay. So can you remember what are the accounts were affected? Invested 15,000 cash to start the agency.
Sir, assets and owner's equity.
Assets and owner's equity. But we need the what types of asset and what types of owner's equity, because you can
Cash and capital, sir.
cash and capital. One is cash, another one capital. So how the cash was changing? Cash was in positive, increasing 15,000. That's why just 15,000. And capital is a part of owner's equity, that was also increasing 15,000. And I want to add one more point here regarding explanation. Why these changes have incurred? That also need to be explained here. That means what is the reason for 15,000 increase in cash and owner's equity? Because write it down in your
To
own
start
word.
the cash in.
Yeah, to start the agency, or investment by owners to start the agency. You can write it down in your own words, but if it is meaningful, that's okay. So I want to add one more point here, that is regarding the explanations. So where it will show why these changes have been incurred. Okay. Second one, the second activities was paid 600 cash for office rent. Paid 600 cash for office rent. Can you remember
Sir,
what
that was 600.
cash decrease? Expense will be increased. But is there any expense account here?
No, it will be in owner.
It will relate it to the owner's equity. Now, if expense increase, how the owner's equity will be affected? If expense increase, if expense increase, how the owner's equity will be affected?
It will
It
decrease.
will decrease. So we will also reduce owner's equity by 600. How can we explain it?
Sir, rent paid.
Rent paid. Paid
Paid.
rent in cash. We can write it down like that.
So can I use bracket?
Yeah, you can use
Plus
bracket. Yeah, yeah,
minus.
yeah. You can use bracket. Whatever you like. Both are same thing. In accounting, if you mention something, if you mention any figure with bracket, it means the negative. So you can also report it with bracket. So from here, we can see that if you consider only transaction one, what is the total asset after transaction one?
15,000.
15,000. What is the total liability and owner's equity after transaction one?
0.
Total liabilities and owner's equity.
Yeah, liabilities are 0, but owner security is 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000. 15,000. So the conditions of asset equals to liability, liabilities and owner's equity fulfilled. That means, okay, second one. What is the total asset at this moment?
14,400.
No, no, no. Only, but only if you consider only the second one. Minus 600 or negative
Minus
6.
600.
Negative 600. What is the total liability and owner's equity?
6 minus 600.
Minus 600 as well. So asset equals to liability plus owner's equity. It means that every transaction will equally affect the total asset and total liability and owner's equity. Okay. The same amount will be affected or after the effect, the total asset and total liability and owner's equity must be same. It can be positive, it can be negative as well. Number 3, purchase office equipment or purchase equipment for cash 3,000. You can take help from the rough you have done or from the analysis.
Minus 3,000.
Minus 3,000 of cash, cash decrease, and Office equipment. Do you think that office equipment is a
Sir,
part?
equipment is also an asset, right? So why are you not including that?
Sorry, sir. Can you please repeat?
Equipment is also an asset, right? So why are we not including that?
We have to include it. That's why I have asked you. So if you go through the analysis you have made earlier, purchase equipment 3000 cash, you can see you have write it down cash and equipment. So and now you can see both cash and equipment are available here. This is the cash and this is the equipment.
Equipment.
What have you written earlier? You have said that cash decrease, equipment increase. We are going to do the same thing here. Cash decrease, equipment increase.
Increase.
That's all. So whatever you have done earlier, we are applying this the same thing here with the numerical values. Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
In the previous one, we just analyzed it. We have to analyze that activity in our mind, or you can do it rough as you have done earlier, and apply those into this transaction analysis or tabular analysis or into this equation through the numerical values. That is the main objective. So they have purchased an equipment 3000 cash. That's why they are 3000 cash reduced and equipment has increased. How can we explain it?
Equipment spot.
Or purchased equipment
Purchase equipment with 1,000.
in cash, in short. Make it short, as short as possible. Okay, purchase equipment in cash. Now you can see by this transaction,
Do we need to write in cash,
or
or we can write purchase equipment?
that's okay as well. Purchased equipment is also okay.
So do we need to explain in tabular analysis?
We need this explanation. Why we need this explanation when we are moving to the next step after this tabular analysis, then you can understand why we are adding this one in our analysis part. So after this transaction, we now can see that this transaction affects only one side of the accounting equation, only the asset sides. So it indicates that a transaction can affect in both side of the accounting equation like the previous two, or only one side of the equation as well. It can be affect all the activities incurred in this by this transaction can affect only the asset side, maybe only the liability and owner security side as well. But regardless how they are affecting to the accounting equation, both sides must be equal after the transaction. Okay, got it. So these two things you should keep in mind. Both sides must be equal and it can affect both side of the accounting equation or any side of the accounting equation. Number 4, incurred 700 of the advertising cost in the Chicago Tribune on account. Help me. They have incurred advertising cost to the Chicago Tribune on account.
Liability.
Look at this. What are the
Accounts
accounts?
payable.
Accounts payable and advertising. Liability and expense. Accounts payable and advertising. Liability and expense. So is there any accounts payable? Here is accounts payable. Was it increasing or decreasing?
Increase.
How much?
For 700.
700. Another account was advertising. Is there any advertising account?
Yes, it will expense by 7,000.
700 minus
Decrease.
700.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any expense account or advertising account here?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No. I haven't seen any advertising account here.
Owner security
Sir,
equipment
But it's
is
an
under
expense.
owner
Security.
It's a part of owner security. Exactly. It's a part of owner security. So expense was increasing or decreasing?
decrease.
Ex-
Decrease.
Sir,
ex-
increasing. So
expense was
increasing.
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 Expense was increasing. So if expense increase, owner security will be decrease. Exactly.
Decrease.
Decreased. This is how we have to make the analysis. How can we explain it? Incurred advertising expense on account. In short,
So both are increases, right, sir?
is it
Yes, sir.
expense increase, liability increase? Okay, liability
So we
increase.
write minus 700.
Yeah, because the reason is that by there is no expense or advertising account. If you looked at cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, accounts payable, owner security, there is no expense account. But we know that expense has a relationship with owner's equity. That's why we are now adjusting expense with the owner's equity. Now, what types of relationship they have? As we have discussed earlier, that if expense increases, owner's equity will decrease, and that's why we have recorded negative 700. Now you can look at total liability and owner's equity is now zero, total asset is also zero, which fulfills our first condition that asset must be equals to liability and owner's equity. Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Number 5, paid 900 cash for office supplies. Paid 900 cash for office supplies. Looked at the rough you have done. Now tell me.
So 900 it will decrease and
900
cash
of cash decreased.
900
And supplies
decrease.
will increase by 900.
Excellent.
and
Supplies,
expense will increase by 900.
expense or
So that
asset?
owner's equity will decrease by 900.
What are the two
Hence 900.
what are the two accounts or two activities involved with the transaction?
Cash
And
and
cash and
supplies.
supply, sir.
Cash and supplies that you have done earlier. Cash and supplies both are asset. There is no expense. Supplies increase, cash asset decrease.
Decrease.
We'll just input this information to the equation. That's all. So as you have already analyzed this, supplies increase, cash decrease, and the amount was 900. That's what we have mentioned. Cash decrease 900, supplies increase by 900. That's all. How can we write it down? Purchased supplies on cash. On cash. 6. Perform service of 10,000, 3,000 receipt cash, 7,000 on account. We already analyzed this. 3 accounts, service revenue, accounts receivable, cash. These are the 3 accounts. Okay, let me copy this. 3 accounts were affected here. These are service revenue, accounts receivable, cash. We also mentioned the amount earlier. 10,000 was the service revenue. Accounts receivable was sorry 7,000. 3,000 was cash. So let's start from the bottom. Cash 3,000 increased. Accounts receivable 7,000 increased. We have inputted these two information. What about the service revenue?
It will fall under owner's equity, which will increase by 10,000.
Excellent. It will fall under the owner's equity, which will increase by 10,000 as well. And you can see total asset 10,000, total liability owner's equity 10,000 as well. This is how it is going to be affected. And we can write down what could be the explanation. Performed services on cash and on account. That's all. Any query?
Sir,
Yep,
so if you write any number in brackets, does it mean it's negative?
it's negative. In accounting, if you write down any numbers in bracket, it's considered as a negative value. 7. Withdraw 600 cash for personal use. Withdraw 600 cash for personal use. Two accounts you have identified.
Asset decreases,
Okay.
drawing increases.
Asset decreases, drawing increases. Cash asset decrease. How much it was?
900.
600.
So
Yeah, no worries. 600 cash reduced as we have mentioned. Another one is the drawings. We have directly recorded it. By the drawings, owner's equity decrease as well. Yep. Done. Number 8. Yep.
Owner's equity, it should be increased because decreases like
If
drawings are decreasing, right?
decreasing or increasing, was there any
Drawings
drawings?
are decreasing, so owner's equity should increase.
Do you think that drawings is decreasing? Why do you think that drawings is decreasing? When anything withdraw by the owner, do you think that withdraw amount or the total withdraw has been increased or decreased? Withdraw 600 for personal use by the owner. So by that withdraw, drawings increase or decrease? Drawings increase. And because drawing increase, that's why we mentioned that owner's equity decrease. Is it okay, sir? Okay. Number 8. Paid Chicago Tribune 500 for the amount due in transaction 4. In transaction 4, you have taken an advertising service, you have not paid it at that time. Now you are paying. And when you are paying, you assess this one like that. A cash and accounts payable will be affected. So we already have made that analysis. And when we make the analysis, you mentioned that cash will be reduced, accounts payable will be reduced by 500. So cash is reducing by 500 and accounts payable will be reduced by 500. Agree? Is it okay? Any confusion? Is it? All right. Number 9. Paid employee salaries. Tell me how should we treat it? Paid employee salary
That
2500.
will be
minus
decreased
2,500.
2500.
and expense will increase.
Yes, expense.
owner's equity will decrease.
Excellent. Expense will increase, owner's equity will be decreased. So we can write down paid salaries to employees. And the last one. Receive 4,000 in cash from customers for the previous transaction of 6. Help me. Receive that amount in cash from the customers billed in transaction 6.
Cash
It will
will
be
increase
increased
by
to 4,000.
4,000 and accounts receivable will decrease by 4,000.
Yeah. I've made this analysis before that when we are receiving the amount from the customers, the cash and accounts receivable will be affected, these two account, and we have made this analysis. Now we are going to input this information with the numerical values to the equation. Cash is increasing as you have mentioned 4,000, accounts receivable will be decreased 4,000. So here we can write it down. Received the due amount. So this is how we need to show the effect of each transaction into the accounting equation. Or in other words, we can say that each transactions will affect the accounting equation in that forms, and this is known as transaction analysis. Up to that, is it okay? Have you understood? How should we proceed?
Yes, sir.
So whenever any activities will be given to us, what we will do initially, we will do this part initially, maybe in our mind or in rough, and we need to be careful for that analysis part, because if we do any mistake here, that will affect to the next steps. That means that whatever we are going to do in accounting, if we do any mistakes at the identification part, everything will show a wrong information. So we need to be careful. That is the first step, identification. We need to be careful on that identification part, and that's how we can show the effect of each transaction into the accounting equation. And when we will be asked to show the tabular analysis, after showing the effect of each transaction, we also need to find out what is the value remains for each account after considering all of this transaction. That means what is the summary of cash, accounts receivable, equipment, liabilities, money, accounts payable, and owner's equity at the end of the after considering all of these transactions. Now, if anyone asks us what is the amount of cash remains after these transactions, can you explain or can you give this information to us? What does this 13,900 means? Cash on hand.
Remaining cash.
Yeah, this is the amount of cash on hand after considering all of these transactions. This is the amount of accounts receivable. That means you are going to receive that 3,000 after considering all of this transaction. This is the 900 of supplies on hand after considering all of this transaction. Maybe this summary has been prepared at the end of April. It means that at the end of April, we have a cash of 13,900, we have a cash of 3,000, we have a cash of 900, we have an equipment of 3,000, we have a liability regarding accounts payable 200, and our owner's claim is 20,600. That's how we can grab the information from the tabular analysis. Uh, okay. After finding out the summary of each of the accounts, another things we need to do, we need to find out what is the total of assets. We need to find out what is the total of assets and what is the total of liability and owner's equity. Now we can see.
So from the equation, we know that z equals to 90, but in this, I can see that it's not.
Let's see. That's why we need to summarize it, or we need to find out what is the total of. It's saying.
Sir, I have class at 5 p.m. Can you leave?
Yeah, sure, sure. If you have class, please leave. I need to 5 minutes more to complete this session. Thank you, sir. So now, as we have mentioned, our assets must be equal to the liability and owner's security. Now, does it match now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
If it is not same, what does it mean?
There's something wrong.
Something
There's
wrong.
something wrong.
There is something wrong that we may have made some mistakes in recording our transactions. So what we need to do? We need to find out what the mistakes have been done in recording and need to clarify those. Okay?
Sir, how much marks will this kind of question normally carry?
It depends on. Marks doesn't matter. Time is the matters. So sometimes full 2 hours can be given for 15, 20, 30 marks, or for 30 minutes exam you may be assigned 15 marks. It doesn't matter, but the time matters. How long it will be given to you to solve a problem like that. Okay.
Sir, I have few questions, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, supplies are supposed to be over, right? Because when we purchase some supplies, we
Mhm.
use it, and it decreases, the amount decreases on the supply amount. So by the end of the month of April, we might not be able to uh, have that $900 of amount of supplies.
Uh,
So can
ho-
we add it in the asset later on, after the month?
Basically, there are two ways to record the supplies. We will explain it in third chapter. Generally, when supplies is been purchased, it's considered as an asset. Generally, and after purchasing any asset, if you start consuming that part, it has been charged to the expense account. But before that, before consuming that supplies part, it has been recorded as an asset. And from this example, it can be said that they have purchased an asset supplies with a 900 amount, and they haven't started consuming, or they could not finish any amount from that. That's why still they are asset for the organization. Okay.
Okay, sir. Another question is, can we say the company is worth 20,800 after a month of April?
Yeah, this is the value of the company is worthing at the end of April. And what is the claim of the owner? What is the claim of the owner, if anyone asks us?
Sir,
20,800.
20,600, this amount.
Okay. Yes.
What was the beginning claim of the owner?
15,000.
15,000. And these are the changes. If you can remember the financial statement we have shown at the very earlier, we said that there will be beginning claim, changes, and ending claim. From here, we can see this is the beginning claim, this is the ending claim, and these are the changes. How these changes has been incurred with the expense and revenue incurred and earned by the organization, and with the drawings as well. Okay.
Sir, in other cases, or in this case, can we write cash as in bank?
Yeah, we can write it down, because nowadays whatever transactions incurred in an organization, they rarely do it in cash. Each and every transaction is being done through the bank. So cash and bank are basically the same thing for any organization. Cash oblique bank. Okay. Any other query? Okay. Now they have started their organization in April. Do you think that they will continue their operation and in May as well? What do you think? Yes, sir. So when they are starting their activities in May, do you think that there will be any amount of cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, accounts payable, or owner's claim? Yes. Which amount? These amounts. Do you agree? Isn't it? When they will start their activities on May, when they will start their activities on May, they will have a cash of 13,900, accounts receivable of 3,000, supplies of 900, equipment of 3,000, liability of 200, and owner's equity of 20,600, isn't it? Then, when May's activities will be incurred, they will adjust their May's activities with the balances. And when they starting their May's activities with the previous accounting periods information, these are basically known as beginning balance. Basically, the format will be like that. If you want to add it here, on April 1, there was no cash, no accounts receivable, no supplies, equipment, accounts receivable, liquidity. We'll start with beginning balance. There will be beginning balance, and whatever activities incurred will show the effect here, and we'll find out ending balance. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So that's how we need to show the effect of transaction into the accounting equation. And we'll move to the next step in the next session. But before that, I am going to suggest you to practice a problem that will be solved in the next session as well. To do yourself a transaction analysis and come up in the next sessions with that solution. We'll cross check it and we'll move to the next step. P12A from your book. P12A, you can see that organization have started their activities on July 1. On July 31, they have some balances of cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, accounts payable, and owner security. That means they have considered all the activities of July's and they find out the balance at the end of July with this amount. Now, the transactions regarding August are given here. These are the activities of August. Now, you are asked if they are transaction, show this effect of this transaction into the tabular analysis. That means accounting equation. The account titles are also been given here. You can follow the same format we have used in this example, and by following the same format, prepare a tabular analysis for the transactions given here. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So it's basically a homework for your practice purpose. You'll solve this problem, you'll show the transaction analysis of this transaction and come up to the next session. I'll do it myself as well. We'll cross check with each other. Then if there is any problem, any controversy, then we'll discuss on that. Then after solving this one, we'll move to the next step. And how are you going to treat it with this information? What do you think? You are recording for August, but what is there any activities to be done with the July 31st information?
That is the beginning balance of
That is
August.
exactly. This should be considered as a beginning balance of August, like that. Exactly. So let's solve this one in the next before the next session. We'll again discuss on that issue and we'll move to the next step. That's all from my part for this session. Do you have any query? Yes, sir.
স্যার আমাদের তো কুইজ 24 তারিখে স্যার
Hmm.
টাইমও দিয়েছে স্যার 7:30 থেকে
Hmm.
স্যার সিএসসির সাথে একটু ক্ল্যাশ খাচ্ছে স্যার
কি সিএসির কি আছে ওই সময়ে?
স্যার কুইজ
সেম টাইম?
জি স্যার মানে একটু আগে শুরু হবে স্যার বাট ক্ল্যাশ খাচ্ছে
How long the quiz will be held?
স্যার 40 মিনিটস মেবি স্যার মানে 7টা থেকে 7:40 পর্যন্ত
Okay, then you can start later on because our window will be open at least for 1 hour and the exam durations will not be for 1 hours, maybe for 30 minutes max, something like that. So you can start at 8 o'clock. It will not be a problem for you. Okay. All right. Any more query?
So where can we get the PDF of the book?
Okay. Can anyone help us regarding that? Where can we get the PDF copy of this book? Is it available to you all?
Sir, you have provided the PDF to us in
Yeah.
email.
I already provided to you all through email. Probably this is also available in box. Have you got my email, Mashur? The first email I have sent, invitation email I have sent. Through that email, I also send you the course outline as well as the PDF copy of the book. If you don't find it out, please email me. I will respond to you.
Sir, if we wish to see the solution part,
Mm-hmm. Which one? For which problem?
can we do? I'm talking about the solution part of the exercises.
So I don't have any solution book. I suggest you to solve problems. If you want, you can share with me, and I can give you the whether you have done correctly or not. Any other query? Okay then. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Yeah.
So,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
sir, the page number, it would be really helpful to share the page number.
It's page 61.
Page 61. Yeah. Page 61 of 61 of the PDF. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. See you in the next session. Have a good day to you all. Thank you.